Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, the 14th day of August 2026. My name is Alexis Jeffers, and of course I'm here every Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And indeed, it is always my pleasure coming here to be in your company at this time. Of course, we start off with the greetings that we normally would do at this point in time, whereby we express greetings to the folks up there in this St. James Parish. And for those who are not familiar with St. James and where the boundaries are, well, St. James starts at the bottom of Zion Hill. There's a gut there, and it goes all the way down to Jones Estate and all of the areas in between, even up to Fountain, Mount Lily, Hog Valley, are those areas, and down into Jones Estate, like I said, somewhere in the vicinity of, Miss June's restaurant thereabout, yeah? And so it is one of the largest parish here on the island of Nevis. And indeed, when you add to St. James, Nevis 11, you extend the boundaries further and go all the way to Craddock Road, the left-hand side of Craddock Road when you're heading up towards the mountain. So that is Nevis 11, the largest constituency in terms of landmass as well here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So St. James is the largest in Nevis, and of course Nevis 11, which is at the federal level, St. James and St. Thomas Parish put together, is also the largest landmass to cover as a representative. But anyway, that was just a little bit of general information. So greetings to everyone once again, and indeed all of the other parishes here on the island of Nevis, I say good afternoon to you. Down in St. Kitts, of course, the entire island of St. Kitts that make up the next half or the next island in the Federation, one country, St. Kitts and Nevis. But St. Kitts, good afternoon to you. And then, of course, we go further and say good afternoon to the folks in Statia, Saba, St. Bart's, French and Dutch St. Martin, U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico, and then, of course, all of the island and countries south of us, from Antigua and Barbuda, heading all the way down to Guyana in the extreme south. And indeed, we sometimes will forget Barbados out there in the southeast. And indeed, up in the United States, the entire United States, from east to west, and all of the states in between, and then up to Canada, and of course into Europe and beyond. We go into Asia. More specifically, we want to say good morning to the folks there in, all citizens, I should say, in the Republic of China, Taiwan. They're now just about 5 minutes past 1 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Good morning to you, and if you're up and listening, I say thank you for blessing us with your presence. But if you get a chance to listen to this broadcast later, when it would be archived either on Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media platform that is used by Yvonne Radio, well, you'll hear my greetings to you. And so let's come back home now and just say to the folks here on Nevis, but more so up in St. James, let me touch on my friend there, Violet Baby Perkins. I understand she was hospitalized over the last couple of days. She's now back home, from my understanding. I did make some inquiries. And of course, Sandra Perkins as well, her daughter. Both of them were there, and both of them are now back home. Praise to God. And I hope you're recovering nicely, both Sandra and Baby. And of course, you have my blessings and the blessings of God, of course, as you continue on your road to recovery. While I'm over in St. James, let me say good afternoon to Kenry Clark. He also was in the hospital for a short period of time. He's now back home and recovering. Kenry Clark, I wish you all the best in your recovery. And of course, I want to also wish speedy recovery to Mr. Swain Evelyn as well. He is the chairman of Culturama. He had, some medical emergencies recently. My understanding is that he's recovering nicely as well. And I want to say good afternoon to you, Swain, and I wish you all the best in your recovery. What I've heard thus far sounds positive, and we are hoping and praying that things continue to be on the up and up for you. And so all who are at the Alexandria Hospital, if you're home and you're nursing any injury or illness or anything of that sort, I wish you all the best in your recovery, and pray that you'll be up and about to make your usual contributions towards the development of the island of Nevis. And so all of you, I pray that God will put his healing hands on you and make you whole once again. Okay? And so we move on. Birthdays. Good afternoon to all who are celebrating today. I am sure there are a number of persons who are celebrating. Of course, I won't have the list and name of all those who are celebrating, but whoever you're celebrating a birthday, you're celebrating an anniversary, or some special occasion, well, have a wonderful day of celebration. And of course, you can continue with your celebration well beyond today as well. You have all rights to do so and all license to do so, because listen, when it comes to celebrating any milestone or anything of that sort, you have to do it in grand style. And keep in mind that you never know what might happen the next minute or the next year or the next whatever. So do so in style, but we wish you many more years of celebration. While I'm at that, let me acknowledge someone who I would have put on my list for today, Mrs. Makisha Paul Watkins. Short, diminutive figure, a very lively and vivacious young lady. She's celebrating her birthday today. Richard Payne, which is, he's the husband of Melissa Seabrooks Payne. He's celebrating today as well. Happy birthday to you, Richard. And of course, anyone else who are celebrating today, I don't have that many persons on my list, like I said. But those who are, continue to enjoy your day. I will, however, though, single out Mr. and Mrs. Rudolph and Althea Jones up there in Mount Lily. They will be celebrating their 50th anniversary, I believe is on Tuesday. Let me make sure I get it right, because I don't want to mess up this for my good friend there, Althea. I did make a note of it. So Althea said that they are celebrating, on Wednesday the 19th of August, they are celebrating 50 years of marriage. My goodness, half a century. You know, there must be something special about that marriage for, Althea and Rudolph, as we call him, Spoon, to still be together. They have a lovely family, so they have done their work here on earth, and they have really at least put in place a good legacy that they'll leave behind when the time comes, and we want them to be around for at least 50 more years if they possibly can, but that is just my wish, but the Lord will provide for them accordingly. But I want to say that that is a marriage that I'm sure many out there can look towards and certainly take some examples from. So Althea and Rudolph, or Spoon, I wish you all of the best when it comes on Wednesday. And indeed, publicly I'll have to stop by to wish you a happy anniversary as well. I know Althea would have had her challenges in the last couple of months, but from all understanding and knowledge, she is coming around and doing far much better now. So Althea, God bless you, and may he continue to provide his healing hands upon you. And I'm sure at this point in time, Spoon has risen to the challenge to make sure he can take care of you as well too. So that's what marriage is all about. That's what relationships and unions are all about. Yeah. So all the best when it comes on Wednesday, but God's willing, we'll get a chance to wish you happy anniversary in person. Tomorrow, Catherine Wilkerson will be celebrating her birthday. She's over there in Cotton Round, the head teacher at the St. James Primary School. Well, Catherine is always down at Penny's Beach, so maybe if I'm down there tomorrow, I can buy her a drink. She's one who normally enjoy the ambience of Penny's Beach, because down there is so fabulous that fabulous people go, fabulous things happen down there. So she'll have a fabulous time down there, I'm sure, once she's there tomorrow. And of course, next Tuesday, Leroy Nisbet. We call him Badwood, he's he resides in England, but he's here with us right now, and that is his childhood nickname, and he still like to be called that. Yeah. So Leroy, you're celebrating on Tuesday the 18th, so hopefully we can catch up between now and then as well. And of course, earlier this week we had some very important persons like Haley Atherton up there in Stony Grove. She celebrated on Wednesday, I believe it was, and then Dolores Body and Elsa De Lashley, a friend of mine from over there in the Nisbet settlement area. She would have celebrated earlier in the week. So those who celebrated and are still celebrating, I say continue to enjoy, and those who have upcoming celebrations, well, do likewise and have a wonderful time when it comes. Okay, moving right along. The weather, it's piping hot outside, steamy, But in tranquility of weather, once you have tranquil weather, then you have to start to think about other things too, because it's not going to stay this way all the time. And so we are understanding that we may be visited by some system this weekend. As a matter of fact, it sounds like it will start sometime later this evening into tomorrow. Tropical storm, tropical wave, I don't know, but it is expected that we'll have some showers, perhaps some thunderstorm and some wind and so forth. Whatever it is, we'll welcome it, but nothing more than what we can bear at this point in time. But while I say that, I still want to say to all of us that we must stay in a state of readiness and preparedness, because we are in the hurricane season, and regardless to what the weather pundits may say about a below average hurricane season, it only takes one storm to create a major mayhem and disaster around here. So we want to stay in a state of readiness and preparedness. So while we welcome the change of weather over the next couple of hours or next day or so, I say, well, let us continue to stay focused and stay in that state where you're ready for whatever is to come. But we still continue to pray and hope that the Lord would protect us throughout this hurricane season. Okay, moving right along. Oh, canvassing. We have been doing some canvassing over the last couple of days and weeks. Well, almost a month or more anyway. And we've gone to various communities throughout the island of Nevis. On Wednesday, I believe it was, we were up there or over there in Jessups. And of course, we had a wonderful time there in Jessups. And indeed, you know, every time the CCM does something, it sparks some conversation. Sound like some out there who are not so happy with us being out there greeting and meeting our people are saying they should turn dogs on us and all kind of foolishness. But anyway, I'm not too perturbed about that at all, because Nevisians are a decent set of people, and even though we have our disagreements and even though we don't see things the same way, we as right-minded and right-thinking people don't respond that way. And so I don't expect to ever meet such situations out there on the road. We know when we go to one particular place annually or whenever these cycles come around, we are met with you know, whatever. But that is expected from that particular area. But I know over the last couple of weeks and months, we have certainly had some very good interactions with the constituents out there. And as I heard the Premier say that we're not campaigning, of course some may see it as campaigning, but we're listening. And there are certain policies that persons will impart and say to us, or certain things that they'll say to us, that we certainly can, if not use in its entirety, we can certainly retool it in some way to make it work for the people of Nevis. And so it's good to listen. And so we are going out this afternoon. We'll be up in Fountain from 4:30 p.m. onwards. And indeed, we'll canvass there and visit as many homes as possible. So the folks in Fountain, you should expect to see us later this afternoon. And of course, on Monday the 17th, we are in Chickenstone, the Clegot area. That's over in the St. George's Parish. And then on Tuesday 18th, we are up in Hamilton. This is in St. Paul's. Thursday the 20th, we're over in Brownhill. That is in St. John's Parish. And of course, on the 24th, Monday the 24th, we're back in Westbury. On Tuesday the 25th, we're over in Butlers, which is in St. James. And then on Wednesday 26th, we're in Hanley's Road. And also back in St. Paul's Parish on the 27th of August. So, I apologize. So, over the next couple of weeks, we're moving around and we're covering all of the different parishes or constituency here on the island. I've heard from quite a number of persons who have been saying, we're not, well, we haven't seen you in our area. Well, we have a roster that we, or itinerary, however you want to describe it, that we would put out from time to time. We'll cover every area here on the island of Nevis. But indeed, from time to time on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks, we'll put out a new schedule. And of course, your area may show up at that time or at a later time, but we'll be coming. We're trying to move Nevis forward, and together we are seeking to do so. And that is why these community walkthroughs are important, to hear from you, and of course to let you know what our plans and programs are when asked, or if we do divulge those there based on the conversations that we are having. So this is us listening, and we're seeking to do the things that are important to our people and to the island of Nevis. So this afternoon, though, we're up in Fountain, and of course I want to say as well that those of you who want to join us there, come and join us, because when we are done, I believe we'll spend some time there by this gentleman who have this barbecue pit, we call it. He does some very succulent pork and chicken and burgers and so forth. Clyde Archibald, right there on the main road there in Fountain. So we'll spend some time there socializing this afternoon. Okay, moving right along. Herbert Beach, I was not here last week, so I didn't get a chance to thank all the persons who would have contributed to its success. And indeed, we continue to have this event year after year after year, and I could go on, because we started there in 1997. This is now 2026, and somewhere in between we were not able to have an event, and I believe it was 2020 when we were visited by COVID-19, that worldwide pandemic. Outside of that, we have made the effort every single year prior to 2020 and after 2020 to put on this event. And you know what? Even up until today, it is still a topic that is talked about here on the island of Nevis. There are some for it and some against it, but the good thing is that the largest, or the larger majority, or the majority of persons are for the Herbert Beach affair, because you cannot underestimate this particular event. It is an event where thousands of persons would come, and indeed it is an event where persons expect to socialize, listen to music, and money is made by the booth operators and vendors who come there. That is why every year it is a sought after event. And I don't know why people fight against Herbert Beach, because it is an added event to the Culturama program of activities. We don't ask anyone to close down their event. We put on our event and say whosoever will may come. And so people keep coming, because the event is one that is a platform and an environment for socialization, and that is where you meet visitors who come in from overseas, or citizens and so forth who come in from overseas. That is where you meet Kittitians, Nevisians, persons from the various non-national community, that kind of thing. Over there is where they come to meet and have a conversation over some drinks or some eats. And so I will say to those who continue to fight against this particular event, listen, move on with your life and find something else to do. And I'm being blunt, because there's no need for you to fight against it, because I'll say to you, once there's health, life and strength in my body, I'm going to put out my best effort annually to make sure this event is held. It is one of the things that I certainly spearhead as my contribution to Culturama since 2003. I returned to Nevis back in, I believe it was May of 2003, and by August of 2003, or July of August, or August of 2003, I was on board once again, and has been spearheading it since then until now. So once I am alive and well, I will be playing my part in Culturama. Even if I don't go to all of the shows, you can be assured that this event will be on the calendar of activities, so that that flavor can be brought to Culturama. And I will go further and say that there are times when people say Herbert Beach Affair has created the type of atmosphere whereby they can say at the end that Culturama was indeed a fun activity or a fun event, and this Herbert Beach Affair is what would have made it that way. And so there are shows being held that particular evening. I don't ask anybody to shut down any shows. The show that is held on the Monday evening used to be on a Thursday night, and all of a sudden on I believe it was 2013, we see it show up on the Monday night. I say nothing. continue with our event. Ain't make any noise, ain't make any fuss. Just put on the event and let people come and enjoy themselves. So these are the folks who have certainly made this event possible over the years, along with those who would have been on board. Some are no longer with us, like my good friend the Burley, may his soul rest in peace. He was one who was always there. But some have been on board and no longer are, and some continue to be. So I want to thank at this point in time the Nevis Island Administration, the Culturama Committee, Mr. Davian Fraser and his electrical service team, Stanley Williams, who normally construct the booth there along with his team as well, Teddy and Three Piece. We normally get some assistance from Her Majesty's Prison up there at Russell's Rest, and I want to thank the officers there and the administrator there for their effort in coordinating those prisoners being there prior to the event. And then, of course, they come back on the Tuesday morning. And I will say that whatever finances are needed to support them on the Tuesday, I normally would find that and make sure they get that taken care of or that paid. Yeah. Rodney's tent rental, of course, every year we call upon them and they're there. Grandson Chucking, that's my friend there, Botai. That is his business. He's always on board, and we want to thank you, Botai, for your contribution over the years. Lewigo Bus Service, he's the one who provide premium bus service for the band men or the bands that come out of St. Kitts. You know, normally they would jam on the road on Juve morning and they're tired. They say they want to go back to St. Kitts to spend a few hours, and then we bring them back. And then, of course, Islander Water Sport as well for transporting them back and forth. Sometimes when they're done at midnight, Islander Water Sport is on the ocean, taking them back over to St. Kitts safely thus far, and we expect that to continue based on the tradition and the safety protocols that are being adhered to by that particular company and all of the others. And of course, I want to say thank you to the Smallux Band. They've been around from the inception until now, and as I always say, I just have to pick up the phone, and I'm told as soon as the phone line open up, we got you. We have you down, man. Don't worry about that. So, Smallux Band, you've been a blessing to us, and you've continued to be a part of this event, and we thank you for that. Collision Band have been there many a times, and they were back this year. We want to thank Shervin White and his band for their excellent performance as well. X-Ray and the DVX band were there for the first time this year. Marvelous job. Thank you, DJ X-Ray and your band. And we hope that you'll continue to go from strength to strength. Destiny Band, a reggae band out of Brick Hill there. They said they wanted to come. I gave them the stage and they came and they played. And they had, you know, the most senior of us, you know, enjoying the reggae music. So that was the change in the flavor that was needed on Herbert Beach Affair there. So thank you, Snowflakes and the boys. So thank you very much. Sugar Hill Band, as usual, were there, and they did their job as required. They went around and serenaded the patrons there, did a wonderful job as well, as usual. Itebulus was there. Thank you, Itebulus. DJ Lalbo and the Rec Life Movement, as usual, always there. Thank you, Lalbo. DJ Zimba is the man who spearheads the whole infrastructure in terms of setting up the band or the sound system. So DJ Zimba, the Rhythm King, thank you, sir. Darren Sutton and his sound system as well. Thank you, Carl Tyson, for providing the stage. He is of the Caribbean Digital Display. That is the name of his business. Penny, that is Junie Penny. He provides lighting, sound, and all sorts of different amenities that are needed for a major show. He normally provides some equipment there as well. Thank you, Junie. And of course, the booth operators, you can't leave them out because they're the ones who provide the eats and the drinks. Without that, the function can never be what it is over the years, or it has been over the years. And so the booth operators, thank you. All of the patrons who have come over the years and who came this year, your support is always needed, and everyone had a wonderful time over there. Safe environment as well too. All of the artisans who came to sell their craft and necklace and jewelry and that kind of thing, thank you. And all of the vendors who are on the periphery, who came with their pickups or their cars or the Jeep or whatever the case might be. Popcorn was sold and cotton candies. So the children were taken care of. And I want to say thank you to, I forgot her name, lady who have a bouncing castle and trampoline. I forget, but you know who you are. She came and she was able to provide some entertainment for the children. Thank you very much. All in all, Herbert Beach 2026 edition is a wrap now, and all in all, it was a wonderful event. Those who came, there's some things that we need to improve on that we'll make note of, and indeed some of the patrons would have documented some of these things, like having chairs for persons to sit. But that is why I say on these microphones when we're promoting it, if you have an armchair, bring it. If you have a lawn chair, bring it. If you're in a wheelchair, come with your wheelchair, you know, because I know that you'll need to sit at some point. But that is something we'll have to consider for next year, okay, and other things, right? Okay, thank you. Let's move on from there and move into something as Wally Water Taxi Facility. Every time we come here at this point of the month, we normally would come with some data and you know, provide the general public with an update as to how the passenger movement continues to increase over there, because it is a facility that continues to grow. People are now using the service more than ever because, one, it is a convenient service, safety is always a priority, and of course it is a short journey across to St. Kitts, or a short journey from St. Kitts to Nevis once you're going from Uwally to Reggae Beach or Reggae Beach to Uwally. And so the numbers continue to grow, and we have seen incremental growth month over month, year after year. So last month, the month of July, we would have seen just about 35,769 passengers who would have utilized the Uwally Water Taxi facility and service over there. And that, I have the breakdown, but I'm going to leave that in terms of how many would have departed and how many would have arrived. But the grand total, though, is 35,769 passengers who would have used the service. Now, compared to July of 2025, 31,317 passengers would have made that journey back and forth. Passengers would have made that journey back and forth in July of last year. So it was about a 13-14% increase thereabout. Now we keep a tally, an overall tally, because I have been keeping this data from 2019, May of 2019 up until July of this year. And so to date, we have seen a total of 1,630,395 passengers who would have utilized that facility over there at Uwally Beach, because once you leave, you're leaving Uwally. Once you arrive, you're arriving at Uwally. So we keep the data of those coming and going. Up to last month, we were just 1,594,626 passengers. So we have had an increase of 35,769. And what that translates into, it translates into, you know, revenue for the operators, revenue for NASPA, revenue for all those who provide services and various amenities to the boat operators. I'm talking about fuel, lubes, and other items that are provided to those boat operators who need to do repairs and service their boats. Of course, we're looking at employment as well. There have been an increase in employment over there in all areas by NASPA for security reasons, and also the boat operators. From time to time you see new faces over there, and they're always looking for new employees as well as their business continue to expand. Of course, the taxi operators, we have seen an increase in the numbers over the years, or over the months and years. We have seen an increase in the amount of taxi operators there. What we promote is that persons can leave St. Kitts without even making any arrangement for transportation on Nevis, and then you're guaranteed when you come there that a taxi would be on site to take you to whatever point on the island of Nevis you're intending to go to. And of course, out of that, born out of all of that, then of course there are hotels and guest houses, restaurants, bars and supermarket and other business places do benefit from this influx and this movement. Indeed, people use it for work reasons. Some are employed in St. Kitts, some are employed here in Nevis, so you have this the movement back and forth on a daily basis. And of course, contractors. When I say contractors, I don't mean necessarily in the construction industry only. Contractors, persons who have various commitments on both islands, St. Kitts or Nevis, in whatever field, they can certainly utilize that service, which they do, to move back and forth on a daily basis. So it is big business over there. Big business. And when we sought to construct that facility, you know, we had our opposition, as we always do. Anything that is good for Nevis, anything that is good for Nevis, there's always opposition coming from the opposition here on Nevis. And we know who the opposition is. Sometimes I'm so fed up of calling their names. But one of the things I always say to myself that, you know, anything that is good and you don't get any comments, whether positive or otherwise, something must be wrong. So we get this opposition to the water taxi. We get opposition to when we were building that Newcastle police station and fire facility over there at Newcastle. We got opposition to construction of roads. We got opposition to even when we were building this Mundo track over here. We got opposition to almost everything. We are getting opposition when it comes to the Van Samry International Airport expansion. We're getting opposition to Destiny project. We're getting opposition to the geothermal project. So everything that is good for Nevis, the opposition, we know who they are, continue to oppose. And the more they oppose, the more we press on. And the more we press on, the more results we are getting. Positive results, that is. And so we continue to do what is needed by the people of Nevis. And we do so, not for ourselves, but we do so for the people of Nevis and for the island of Nevis. And it warms my heart every time I hear people talk about their visit to Nevis, talk about their interaction with the people of Nevis, and talk about Nevis in general. I mean, Nevis is a beautiful place. And no opposition, no negativity, no bad talking is going to erase the flavor and the beauty of this island. Because we who are in a leadership position, we who are in government, we who are working for and on behalf of the people of Nevis, we are going to continue to press on to make sure that Nevis continue to be the envy of all those out there who see us and who can't believe the advancements that we have made here on the island of Nevis. And I'll speak more about some of these things as I go on. But I just want to say that in the face of opposition, we remain positive, we remain optimistic, and we remain on course to deliver to the people of Nevis what we feel is the best thing for the people of Nevis, and that is jobs, crime-free environment, decent infrastructure, good infrastructure, I must say. And you can go on and on. But our main aim is to provide value to our people so that we can all live here and enjoy these amenities and continue to be proud of an island that we can call home. Now, let's move on to something else. We understand there is a federal election that is looming. I don't know. From what I know, one is due next year, August, or maybe 90 days thereafter. It could be August, September, October, November, whatever the case might be. It is all up to the Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and his team to decide when there will be an election. But there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of talk. And so when you hear noise and talk, then you listen and you wonder, well, when would it be? I don't know. But before we get to all that and before we start talking about a federal election to come, I want to say to the people of Nevis, just like what happened in 2006, I am always reminded of that old adage. The old people usually say it, you know, that sometimes you give up something that is good, looking for something better, only to end up with something which is worse. And so I cast my mind back to 2006. There was a lot of noise in Nevis. CCM was doing a wonderful job then. People were making money. Financial services sector was doing well. Tourism was at its highest or at its peak and rising even further. The roads, the amenities, everything in Nevis was in good standing. somewhere along the line, some persons came along in the opposition, started beating out this thing about 80 acres. And they went and they hammered it, just like how they hammer in Destiny now. Same old tactics, same old strategy, where they try to bring negativity to the fore so as to convince our people that something is wrong. They did so in 2006. And lo and behold, in 2006, the people of Nevis lost sight of what was important to us then, and that was to steady course and to continue building on what we would have accomplished at that point in time. And so we said to the people of Nevis then, stick with the CCM. People, for some reason, went the other way. And that's why I made the point just now that the old people have said and continue to say, because I love talking to the elderly, you know. Why? Is because they have seen things, they have been places, and they have experienced things that I will never experience in my life. For example, if I talk to an 80-year-old and they were born whatever year, they were born way before my time. And so I wouldn't have experienced that. So they would have seen things, experienced things, and they know things that some of us don't know. And so when they say, do not give up a good thing, looking for better, to end up with worse, that is what happened in 2006. And so the noise has been made now regarding the federal election. And you know, they're saying, do not send CCM back down there. And we're saying, rubbish. Rubbish. That is what they're saying. They will say, as they say, do not. But I will say, listen, steady course with CCM. Here's why. Both the CCM and NRP have had 37 years. 37 years either in government or in the federal parliament. 1983, the NRP, this is independence and post-independence I'm talking about. 1983, the NRP was in government with the People's Action Movement. There was an election in 1993, and the NRP would have, in 1993, they won just one seat, so they were no longer in government in St. Kitts. So they then went into a minority government in 1995 when we had that 4-4 split in St. Kitts. Went into a minority government. So they were in a majority government between 1983 up until 1993. 1983 to 1993, if my memory serves me right. Then they got into a minority government in 1993 to 1995. They remained in the federal parliament from then until 2015, but in between there, they were in government again in 2010, and then in a minority government sometime after 2010. So they've had 17 years in majority and minority government in St. Kitts. You add them up. 17 years they've had in a majority or minority government in St. Kitts. The CCM would have won the first federal seat, I believe, in 1989. That's when the Honorable Van Sam would have won a seat in 1989. It was on the opposition bench. And we remain in opposition up until 2015. Meanwhile, the NRP had years in government, you know, whether minority or majority. And if they were in there as a minority government, that's when you should have had the powers to make sure that Nevis got what is rightfully theirs. We ain't get nothing out of the deal. All we got while the NRP was either in a minority or majority government was a loan for $4 million, and also, well, the $4 million was to pay for some lands over there at the airport, yeah, I would say. They them land, so NRP went and got this loan. Anyway, $4 million. And then I recall something came to me the other day, and someone reminded me. They reminded me, you remember when the SIDF had this small business program whereby they had business coaches. They call them business coach. A slew of NRP supporters, well-wishers, and whomever were part of the executive got jobs to be coaches, you know, business coaches. So they were being paid to say they're teaching people how to start small business, how to conduct small business. Meanwhile, they neither start one themselves, ain't know how to run one, and who had one going, he failed. They failed. So they were collecting their pay as business coaches. Meanwhile, the people of Nevis were asking, well, what is in it for us? So it boils down that the NRP was always about themselves. Them and their supporters, or them and their hierarchy were always about themselves. Because instead of going down and punching while they were in government for what is rightfully ours, they went down and they get a loan. And then they made sure they lined their own pockets, said they are business coaches, when in truth and in fact nothing was in it for the average division or the island of Nevis. Meanwhile, while they're in government, they were asked to go and take loans, increase overdraft, while monies were being made through the CBI program. So the debt stock of Nevis increased under the NRP, when in truth and in fact, the SIDF and the CBI program were robust over there at the time. Hotels were being built, roads were being built, infrastructure was being improved over there through those funds. NRP, while they were in government down there, made sure we were borrowing from all sorts of institutions. And so when you hear them talking, they had 17 years. 17 years in and out of, well, not in and out, let's say in a majority or minority government and St. Kitts. We had 7. We had 7 between 2015 to 2022. And you keep hearing them saying, oh, what did they bring back for that? Where the 500 million gone and what's that? Well, here is it. Here is it. I will lay out to you what we would have done with those monies, but I'll tell you this much. That on top of them looking after themselves, they made sure in 2014, that fateful Wednesday, they made sure that and the NRP was in government, you know. They had someone in the Labour government right in cabinet in St. Kitts. So they made sure that our check, civil servants check, was bounced on that fateful day in April of 2014. They orchestrated that. What a humiliation to the people of Nevis. What a sad and dark day that was for the people of Nevis. And you know, they were down in the square. Let them take that. But when they went to the bank, the same NRP supporters went to the bank. What they met? Nothing. They're laughing, rejoicing. And then when they went to the bank, they thought that somebody would have sit down in St. Kitts and say, well, that I NRP. Pay the NRP. No. Every single civil servant went to the bank that day, and not a penny was in the bank for them. Compliments of the NRP, who was over there in a federal cabinet, in government. And then they're going to ask, what did we do? Well, let me tell you something, right? We went through a COVID-19 pandemic here on the island of Nevis. Just to show you how we believe in our people, understand our people, and love our people, and want our people to get what is rightfully theirs. Not one soul, not one civil servant lost a paycheck during COVID-19. Not one. But lo and behold, I just told you, during the years that they were in government there in 2014, they made sure that the people, the civil servants of Nevis, the check was bounced. So what happened? People loan went into default. People were hoping to pay their light bill, their water bill, all of their bills. Go to the bank, nothing. Compliments of the NRP. And they tell you they love people. I tell you all already, when they say NRP best for Nevis, NRP is the best party to keep away from in the island of Nevis. I put it differently anyway. I say NRP best to keep from. Every time they've been a part of any federal setup, they have always said Nevis don't need anything. They stand up in the federal parliament and say Nevis don't need nothing. And you hear the persons on the other side. That's what they want to hear. And that's why you see some of the operatives on St. Kitts are coming over, like the Piper Payne, well, the you know, whoever it is. How did the slogan go? Who pay the piper, call the tune? Yeah, they come in at the selecting candidates. Selecting candidates because they know once they're able to get persons and Nevis on their side who are in the NRP, they know their job done. And happy gonna come down and oppose everything, and happy gonna say, well, we may want nothing over here. But not us here in the CCM, you know. We always believe in whatever is available, whatever federal resources available to the island of St. Kitts and the island of Nevis. Nevis must get its fair share. And that's why we've been advocating for all these years. And so we would have gone down there. We were in government in 2015 to 2022. And look at the things that we got. The only water taxi facility I just spoke about, that came out of SIDF. Before I go that far, you see that SIDF, I believe it was formed in 2010. And up until 2015, not one division was ever on that board of directors. Not one. But when we got into government, we made sure Nevis got someone at the table. My good friend Leon Lescott was there. He was one of the directors. And because of his presence, and I want to thank the other board directors as well, who saw the inequity and who saw the imbalance and saw that the injustice was there, they made sure Nevis got something. Nevis got it, some of it, not its fair share, but some of its share. And so with that monies, or those monies, we build the water taxi, Mundo track, roads down at Hanley's Road. And while I'm at Hanley's Road, the people of Hanley's Road must remember, you know, they must remember that the NRP did the road down to the St. George's Anglican Church and stop there and say, you down there in Hanley's Road, whether you break your ankle, break your foot, or mash up your vehicle, that's your problem. Van Samry didn't do it for you and they're not doing it. Well, that's all right. We were able to come into government and form part of Team Unity and got the financing available to us to do Hanley's Road. Beautiful piece of road going all the way down to the bottom of Hanley's Road, down Indian Castle almost. Yeah? And Rollins Road too, you know. Used to hear them every Thursday night. They say when you walk across by Hannah Allen, God bless her soul, you go stretch out both hands and touch the two walls, how narrow the road was. They say, Lord, Vance left it like that. But no, Vance was able to rectify that with the same finances that we got out of the CBI program. Same monies from the sale of our passport. You go up to Rollins now, is a highway at the top of Rollins. You're not going to stretch out no hand and touch no wall now, two vehicles can pass. And these are the kind of embarrassment they sought to bring to be on the people of Gingerland. Even the Joycelyn Libert kitchen, the last kitchen that was built, school meals program kitchen that is, that was built. I remember spearheading that. Told Van Samry, listen, forget the money, I could build it. And he up there, the last one, second largest primary school at that time, I believe it was. But the last one to receive. And we were able to construct that out of monies that were received out of the sale of our passports. Bringing embarrassment on the people of Gingerland. Not only that, all up and down Nevis. But we have done roads, Hanley's Road, Rollins, Braziers, Brownhill, Shaw's Road, Farms, you name it. Not only that, we haven't stopped there, because you see the Newcastle police station? It was a dump when I came into government, and I said at some point I had to get it done. We were able to engineer, get it done. Look at it over there. Best thing they can say is that the fire truck can't fit. I always tell them, you know, once you're obsessed with that police station, go along in and tell them, lock you up for a minute or two. Or maybe for then you see how nice it feels. Move on from there. VOGN sporting facility, housing. Oh man, we started so many housing developments in Nevis. See the view up there at Mountain View. That's at the top of Craddock Road. Chimney Crescent. Up at Sugar Hill or Sugar Bay, whatever it's called up there at Hamilton. Or down at Rice's. University Heights. Beautiful development. Yeah, I know. I'll hear that the roads need to be done, but they'll get done. I want to say that relief is on his way for the folks up there at University Heights. But you go on, the extension of that same tender pier down there too, you know. Look at it now. Any size tender can come there now. It wasn't like that. We met it partially concrete, partially wood. And we were able to fix that up. Save money. Debt relief. Paid some of our debt. I mean, you move on. Water. Electricity. My goodness, I remember when we had rolling blackouts here in Nevis. As soon as Leon Lester got onto the board, I said, listen, punch for us. We need a new engine. Brand new Wärtsilä engine. Cost 13.5 million EC dollars, or 5 million US dollars. Punch for us. We got a Wärtsilä 3.8 megawatts. We didn't stop there. We bought another one, 2 megawatts. And we keep doing these things. You know why? The monies that have come from our portion out of the sale of the passport and syndicate. We said we're going to use it wisely. That is why we invested heavily in water. That is why today you can hear people down in St. Lucia say 8 to 10 days they haven't had water. You can hear them say they're importing water out of Dominica into St. Lucia. I'm sorry to call their names, but those are the realities. Antigua, 3-4 days, you hear people say that they ain't see water in their pipe. Syndicate right down there. Water goes off every night. Where in Nevis that happening? Where? If a pipe get ruptured by some means or some repairs are being done, you lose your water, yes? But by and large, we've had water 24/7, 365 here on the island of Nevis for the past 5 years because of the investments that we've made in water. I am proud to say this today because, you know, the opposite to that would have been mayhem here on the island, you know? If we had issues with water, you think we'd have heard the last of it? Because that is what they're waiting for on the other side. But look at us. When they had money rolling back and forth in St. Kitts, they went and did a contract, you know, with a water company here. When it's all said and done, $30 million of our hard-earned taxpayers' money went to pay that company. And then we had water wars here up until 2018 when the contract expired. They were supposed to provide us with 3 wells. We ended up with 2. They didn't do anything. They didn't put in a distribution line. They didn't put in a water storage. They didn't put in nothing of that, employing one person and monitoring them from off-site in New York. But right now as it is, we invested some of that money that we got from St. Kitts and place it into water here on the island of Nevis. Our young men and young women who are managing it. Right down there, the water department. We got brand new tanks. We got a distribution system. The whole island is connected. Where in the world or where in the Caribbean you'll find that. We have done a marvelous job when it comes to water. Electricity, of course, you have some you know, intermittent outage because they're doing some repairs to one of the same Wärtsilä up there at the plant right now. But the notice is out on the radio. But by and large, we have stable electricity. Down in the Virgin Islands, you hear all kind of wars down there. I know when they did this song some years ago, Brap electricity gone, make it up now, no? Make it up now. Brap water gone, make it up now, no? That is what they always do. Anything negative when it comes to Nevis, they try to accentuate the negative. We're going to stay positive. But I'm going to go on. But listen, double salaries, everything. Lord of mercy, double salaries were rolling then under the CCM. When we were down there in St. Kitts, money, the same money we make sure people had. And you know, last night I heard some foolishness that as the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries at the federal level, nothing came to Nevis. Let me tell you all something, eh? Prior to me being the Minister of Agriculture at the federal level, Nevis got nothing. Zero, zilch, nothing. During COVID, I made sure fishermen get fish but wire. They got rope, they got buoy, they got safety equipment like GPS. I made sure. I could remember one day I went into my office in St. Kitts, a big box, because I had a PS then, you know. I tell him, wherever St. Kitts get, make sure I get mine to St. Davis. A big box was there sitting down with some GPS. You know, safety devices. I mean, we didn't get nothing. Never got anything. You hear me say they were down there for 17 years in government. What we get? Not a thing, zero, zilch. And I could speak on and on as to what we would have gotten. 10 greenhouses I ordered. Almost $1 million out of the same federal funds. 5 came to Nevis. 5 went to St. Kitts. If I had my way, I would have kept all 5 over here and all. All 10, I must say. But 5 and 5. And our 5 are under production, you know. Danny Atherton have 1. Mackie Truss have 1. Fellow Paris, who does this green leafy stuff, he has 1. And then somebody else, I don't remember all of the names, but all of them are under production right here in Nevis. I don't know about St. Kitts. So I mean nothing came. And I could go on and on. But whatever was available to St. Kitts, the Ministry of Agriculture or Department of Agriculture, we got feed from St. Kitts for Nevis. Betical and all those things. I mean, nothing came. But I'm happy go and sit down, eh? And stop spewing lies. And stop talking foolishness. But anyway, let me leave that for now because I'm running out of time. I need some more time. I'm going to ask some sponsors to give me an extra hour. Because, it feels good talking about these things, Listen, we got to blow our own trumpet and blow it because it sounds sweet, Once you're blowing your own trumpet, you know the notes and you know how to go high and low. Yeah? So, we got to blow our own trumpet. So, let me leave them alone. But I want to leave this with the NRP, yeah? As much as they're talking about geothermal, I want people to do some research. I'm going to come back with it because back in the days when NRP was here said they're pursuing geothermal, I am so glad they didn't get through with what they were trying to do then. Why I say that? They were going to a bank in Dominica, an offshore bank called Banco Transatlantico. Banco Transatlantico. I want people to go and do the research because the owner of that bank was arrested and imprisoned in England for fraud. Yeah? That is the bank where NRP was going with all geothermal. I ain't gonna say a thing else about that, but do the research. It's right out there on the internet. Yeah? So all the glowing talk they have about geothermal, that is why in 2011, when that fiasco occurred in Dominica, everything got derailed then, and that is when they took West Indies Power to court. So West Indies Power ain't got no money to do nothing. You think we don't have the history, no? We have the history good. But we as a party, we're not going to dwell in the past. We're going to bring up the history now and then. But our plan is to pursue what is before us. And that is why the CDB, Caribbean Development Bank, that is why the Saudi Fund, and that is why the Green Climate Fund are engaged, reputable institutions, to make sure that our geothermal remain in reputable hands. And that's the most I'll say about that for now. But they can continue to oppose to the airport, oppose to geothermal, oppose to Destiny. We are going to pursue these projects because these are the transformative projects that are going to bring about and make a difference in the lives of our people here on the island of Nevis. Positive difference. And we're going to press on. And you'll get the history about them too, and the knowledge as to why they're opposing Destiny. But I'm going to leave that for now too because I'm running out of time. Quickly though, not a new topic, but I think I have 1 minute left. But I've heard some comments and statement from Gaston Brown there in Antigua regarding the judge and court and what's that. All I'm going to say is that I'm not going to decide whether he's right or wrong. All I'm going to say that the judicial system here on the island of Nevis and in the Federation need to be checked because there are some lawyers who use the court as cover, say they're not available for cases running for 6 years and more. I had a situation where a case ran for 6 years and the judge eventually threw out the case 2 weeks ago and then tell my lawyer to file application so that the lawyer in question can be charged for wasting the court time. I think that's a good way to go. When lawyers waste the court time, they must be charged because there must be some statute and some policy regarding that. But I'm going to leave that and pick it up another time as well too. That being said, I'm running out of time. So I want to say in wrapping up to the people of Fountain, we are coming there this afternoon to spend some time with you. Canvas, going back and forth, listening to you, and we'll document these things and do what is necessary all up and down Nevis to make sure we can make Nevis a much better place. So that's my show for today. I want to say to those of you who tuned in, thank you for listening. And going further, I'll say if you go to church on a Saturday, go and serve your God. If you do on a Sunday, do likewise. And of course, pray for this station, pray for me, pray for the leadership of the island of Nevis and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, so that our leaders can continue to make the right decisions and apply wisdom to everything that they do. And so I close now by saying thank you once again. May God continue to bless us all. May you have a safe and productive weekend and continue to take care of yourself and your family. God bless you and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean.